Welcome to the most important podcast you are listening to right now. The A Show with April Hunter and Aron Stevens.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The A Show. I am the co-host, Aron, but with me, as always, is the host with the most, Miss April Hunter.
What's up? How are you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you this week?
I'm honestly, I'm not that great, but we're gonna fake it till we make it. It's one of those weeks, you know what I'm saying? So
okay, well, you know what? Let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
Well, no, fake it till you make it. Is
Right.
a mindset, in your opinion, right? Like then okay, the fake it till you make it, is that another way of saying mind over matter?
Good question. I have never thought about that.
I know. See, this is the A Show. We provoke little thoughts here and we go with them.
Maybe it's also a way of saying, you know, that hippy dippy raise your vibration kind of thing, like fake it till you make it, like, you know, raise your energy and everything else will follow.
Okay, which I, by the way, am a believer in that. I think as individuals, we can, like, we can't change external circumstances per se in terms of how the world reacts to us, but we can change the way we react to the world. So it's very much like you change yourself and then your outward circumstances will change from that. So again, through pretty much experimentation, like I have found that to be very, very true. When, you know, and like the hippies, oh, you got to raise the vibration, raise the vibe tribe, all that stuff. But there's definitely some merit in that, because if you can say, all right, these are the external circumstances I'm dealing with, not necessarily the best, but I'm choosing to use these circumstances as either a learning experience or something that will in essence make me stronger, maybe a combination of both and more, who knows. But we look at our challenges as something positive that can actually help us in the long run, in my opinion. And it cannot have us get gray hair, because I don't dye my hair. I'm just saying, you know, I don't have really the gray thing going on. And I'm actually, I can stress out, and you know this because we talk. I mean, we're friends in real life.
Oh, no,
I mean,
did I say that? I'm sorry. That's Freudian.
What?
I go, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But no, like we talk, like I have, you know, I've been a victim of anxiety before, and you know, as most people, and so we have our struggles, but at the end of the day, again, fake it till you make it is sometimes, you know what, you just got to put on a happy face and do it, whether it's for a job or something else. But then in doing that, you can maybe use that to kind of create some positive momentum to where when you return to, I don't want to say your real life, but like a point where you don't have to put on that happy face, maybe you can return and be at least a little less stressed, because look, if I can fake a smile, then maybe I can smile for real. Not that the problems go away, but maybe I can look at them a different way and not be as stressed out. Am I talking out my butthole?
No, I was gonna say, you know, it's the same in every language, no matter what, is a smile or laughter. So, and it's contagious.
Yeah.
And somebody actually brought this up, and I thought this was pretty profound. Now, I mean, English is a Germanic language, but I think we have 30 words for money and only one for love. So in English, one for love. So you love pizza the way you love your spouse or your son. It's kind of weird. Like, even in sign language, they have, you know, yeah, I know they have, like, I know, but I'm saying, even in sign language, they have, you know, different versions of love. They have like platonic love. They have romantic love. So I mean, they've differentiated between them, and
Mhm.
so you can. It's weird that our language is so complicated, you
Mm.
know, but we only have, but it's so simple. Like we have one word for love. That's it.
Mm.
Cash, dinero, money, finances. You know, I mean, we've, you know what I mean? It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah,
Just
I
a
mean, really
random
tells
thought.
you where our priorities are, right?
Yeah, and speaking of, to those of you who are helping us in that 30 different ways to save money, and you're on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com,
Hmm.
the A Show. And if you're listening to this on Podbean, you can actually watch us as well on Patreon, the A Show. Um, for those of you who are actually supporting us, we are deeply grateful. It is a venture that we are kind of in love with. There's that one word. The same way we love pizza and our moms, and we appreciate your support in a huge way, so that we can keep going. So, and hopefully, Colin will let us answer back some of our patrons' questions and comments this week too. We can get to that maybe at some point in the show.
Yeah, because we want to interact. Like that's the thing. We have more of the agape love, which is if you don't know what it is, look it up. It's actually, you know what? I'll give you a brief summary of what agape is. It's just you want the well-being of others. You want to help other people. You want to kind of just you care about people's well-being.
Okay.
And you really try to implement that. So that's the kind of that, and that's a very brief definition, but it gives you the sense of that kind of, it's not the love that you would have for pizza or a spouse or a child or anything like that, but it's just the
Joe.
general well-being. It's that agape kind of vibe.
This reminds me of a friend of mine brought this up. She was talking about relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and she said that she was dating a guy for a while, and who later became her husband. But he would tell her, "I love you," and she would answer back for a while. She would answer back, "Thank you." She's
Nothing wrong
like,
with that.
"Really? Really?" Okay, so she would say, she's like, "How would you address that?" I'm like, "Oh, girl," I'm like, "there are only two correct eh, responses to 'I love you.' It's either 'I love you as well,' or 'I'm not quite there yet, but I appreciate the fact that you're um, telling me your feelings very much." You know what I mean? She's like, "Oh, I just say thank you."
Which is, I appreciate it, right? It's another word for saying I appreciate it. And see, I think that's great. I think that honesty is amazing, and maybe that's why they're married today, because it was
They're
at the
not
same time,
anymore.
like, do you want, and I've always had this problem, right? To where, and look, we've done the relationship thing with me, and I have more issues than Rolling Stone when it comes to that, right? I'm admitting that. I said that before here, but I've always had an issue with, like, is someone in love with the idea of being in love?
Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
drug. It's a dopamine drug.
do they want that just to, like, oh, I love you and I love you too, but, like, no, don't say that unless you mean it. Really don't.
Yeah.
And I don't say that. I really don't. I mean, I can tell people, yes, like, because there's, like, yes, I love you in the sense of the agape sense, and but then
Yeah.
there's the like, oh, I'm in love with you kind of thing. Because when you're in a romantic situation and you say I love you, that's like an I'm in love with you. That's what that means. Um, so yeah, I don't say that. I don't,
Um,
because
no,
it never
but
is. You know. Sorry, go
see,
ahead.
I tell people I love them because, well, I mean, I think losing my mom and grandma back to back, and we've lost so many coworkers and friends.
Mhm.
That is a hard lesson. I lost my dad suddenly. You There are a lot of takeaways from that, but the major takeaway from me, or for me, is that you don't always get another chance. So
Mhm.
if you don't tell people what you think, whether it's "go fuck yourself" or "I love you," that can go both ways. you might never get another chance. So that's why I am fairly quick to tell people this if I care about them, whether it's friends or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's it. That's that kind of love. I was talking about the romantic love situation where I don't say that. Now, in my real life, yes, I tell my mother I love her every day. You know, no, I mean, I tell my friends I love them. You know, when
you talk to your mom every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so sweet.
And then,
you, like when, you always laugh.
Well, yeah, I do. I do talk to my mom every day. Yeah. No, and like with recently, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we lost a dear friend of mine. And no, like I had friends reach out to me that tell me they love me and I love them. And yes, that is 100%. I like what I was saying in a romantic situation. Like, I don't want to mislead a lady into thinking that it's one thing when it's not. Now, granted, I haven't dated in years, so that's like I've completely like removed myself from that. But
you're not missing much.
What's that?
You're not missing much.
Yeah.
It just gets harder and harder as you get older too. It gets weirder and weirder.
Really? I've heard the opposite of that.
Yeah, that too.
Bye, Slap. But yeah, you know, I really think that honesty is something I value it so much, because if I tell someone, look, I love you, like I genuinely mean that. And if I am going to tell someone, look, I'm in love with you, I genuinely want to mean that. Like, I don't want to do it just to do it because it's like a thing. And in the long run, people get hurt. And, you know, I think the testament of that is your friend is now married to the same person.
Well, no, she's not, but she was.
Okay. Well, hey. There we go.
For some years, but it didn't work. It didn't work out, but eventually she did come around. And she got her I love yous in for a few years there.
Awesome. Learning experience, and we grow from that.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, wait a minute. Colin has just come in with, I think we have some feedback from the fans. I guess the question was asked what I should do for cosplay, and there's a couple answers there. And then you have a comment on your Just a Tip video. So do we want to get to that now? Do we want to just let's deal with it.
All right, guys. So I did ask everyone on Patreon what a good cosplay for you, Aron, would be. Our first comment comes from Scott Woodford, Kratos from God of War. Now, you might have to cut the hair for this, Aron, and that might not be a good one.
Yeah, we know that's not gonna. I just received a few weeks ago a horrible haircut, so I'm trying to grow it out again. I'm trying to stay fluffed and get the, so yeah, I don't think, now maybe I'll do the ball cap. Like I've done that for some roles before, like where they have to put the skull cap on me and everything, but okay, Kratos from God of War, very cool.
And then we have from Ava Dupois, steampunk Count Dracula.
I can roll with that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like how you pronounce Ava's name too. It's very sophisticated and
I would imagine it looks very French. So, and then for our Just the Tip episode 2, where you talked about portion control, April, with the different size plates, we've got a comment from Doug Gay. It's all about optical illusion.
That's actually, he's got a point on that. I didn't think about that, but perception is reality pretty often. So yeah. He's right. Thanks, Doug.
And that's it from the Patreon, guys. So make sure you get in on the Patreon page, and we'll read your comments. We'll ask questions randomly, and we'll read them on the show, guys.
Yeah, no, we love it. You know, get in where you fit in, and you all fit in here. So everyone fits in on the A show. We make room for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for interacting with us. So I saw something on Twitter that was pretty funny, and it was somebody put a thread on Reddit asking foreigners what they thought was fake about America that ended up being true, that kind of blew their minds. And the answers were interesting. I mean, being American, we take things for granted. So people thought that yellow school buses were just something on cartoons. So
wow,
they didn't realize that we actually had yellow school buses. They talked about how some guy bragged about having 20 days. It was a German guy said somebody guy talked about bragging about having 20 days off a year. He's like, if somebody told me I would get 20 days off a year, he goes, I would turn around, walk out, and never come back to that job.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We're so weird about that. Somebody was over here for a little while and he was talking about how, or she was talking about Americans are very good at making pie. Like they're talking about our Thanksgiving. They're like, people came over with so many different pies and they were unbelievable. We are pie, aren't we?
Damn right.
We are pie.
You know what? That's right. When they came over here, the 13 colonies, you used what you had. And God, there isn't. I'm gonna just plug this dude simply because, and I think it was the beginning of quarantine, April, and I might have shared this with you. I think they're called the Townsends. And
was that the guy that makes everything?
Yes,
the guy.
Yes,
from like he's like from colonial times and stuff.
100%. And I have a weird family history when it comes to he's being from Massachusetts. Like I'm it's more Civil War, I guess, but like my family has always been involved in like historical preservation and everything. And you know, there was
like LARPy.
No, well, actually, yes. You know what? My cousin Onley, him and his ex-wife, they worked at this place called Old Sturbridge Village, which is oddly enough in Sturbridge. And you go in there, and it is life after the Civil War and right before the Industrial Revolution.
That's pretty cool.
So it's, you know, you're still dealing with farming and everything like that. They have a sawmill though. Like they have the working sawmill where it's like they have the water wheel and like you're just learning how to cut you know, boards and things like that and mass produce them. They have a blacksmith shop, a tinsmith shop, which it was a fascinating time period because the Providence Worcester Railroad had just kind of or was being constructed, I believe, because it's like a different year every year, and I think there's like a 15 or 20 year time frame, so they'll kind of adjust accordingly. And at the same time, though, they'll slip out of character and answer questions and things like that. And perhaps April is going to put on her colonial bonnet or something like that. Maybe. Oh no, she's back.
You wish.
But, yeah, so it's really an interesting thing. But they used to work there and everything. And they cook in a big kettle and everything like that. So and Onley's mother, my Aunt May, who recently passed, she was 105, I believe, or 106, was the oldest living relative of Clara Barton, who founded the American Red Cross. So I guess in essence, she was my great aunt, I believe. Maybe there's a great give or take there. But yeah, so the two most famous people to ever come out of Oxford are Clara Barton and myself.
Do you have a statue?
I do not. No, I don't. Like an actual stone statue of me?
Yeah.
No.
Why?
Well,
why have they not put a statue up about you?
Well, my uncle has spray painted my action figure. And he's actually done some awful things. Well, like when my first action figure, it was a big deal, right? With my family, I was, oh my God. And he's finally met, and it was a whole thing. So of course they had boxes of them. The local Walmart in Oxford, like they knew my family because when they would get new shipments in, my family would buy all, and like I was sending them though, because I was friends with the people at WWE that did all the tours. So I would send them a crate, but they'd have to go in and buy everything. And my grandmother was, God, she was the best. She would always have to get like, multiple ones because she'd hand them out. And, but my man, with the surplus of them, my Uncle Mike, he did some terrible things to, I'm not even going to get into it because we will be thrown off the air, but you all can use your imaginations. It was like that's one thing, like my family's never looked at me really different. And yeah, like, so like
you're subjected to the same punishment as everybody else.
When I had it, like I was just simply made fun of and just, it was horrible. They would torture me at the live events.
Yeah.
If they were not my family, they would have been kicked out several times. Like, but the WWE security loves them because I was always friends with the security guards, and like Scott especially, and then Sarge, John, like they were great. And then Muriel too. Muriel was the best. Love her. But like they knew my family. so it was funny, but like my uncle, he would stand up and lift his shirt up. I mean, they would just insult me, and the security guards, they were laughing. Other fans would do it and they would be like, hey, sit down and do this. But like they thought it was just funny that my own family was actually taunting me. So.
And now you asshole. Shut up, Uncle Mike.
Yeah. Oh, this one time when I apparently
you like throw something at me. Yeah.
When someone said, I was in there and someone said, hey, you suck to me.
Yeah.
And then.
Quiet, Grandma.
No, my uncle, it was the same uncle, because I have a bunch of uncles. They all go to it, but my uncle and my sister were the worst. My uncle Mike and my sister were the worst. So my uncle goes, you suck. And then my sister goes, you suck and your kid sucks. And then he goes, yeah, why don't you go home and brush your tooth? Like they would. So yeah, that was it. That was God, they would embarrass me so much. So much.
Funny. Remember we were doing a show in Philadelphia. It was Liberty Pro Wrestling, and in Pennsylvania you had to have a doctor or a nurse on call there to. It was like a law, right? And I guess the doctor or the nurse didn't come through, and my mom showed up after work. She hated wrestling, but occasionally she would give it a go and try and support me. She showed up in her medical scrubs. And I remember the show was run by somebody I went to high school with, whose father went to high school with my mother. Like it was like 2 generations of friendship there. And her husband was the promoter. And Jessica comes over to my mom and she's like, please, for the love of God, we're not going to have a show if you don't pretend that you're the doctor or the nurse here. So my mom had to go up to like, what was it, the wrestling commission or whatever it was, them and go, yeah, I'm in charge here. My mom's like sweating it out. She's like, oh God, what if they find out? I'm like, oh, you're wearing scrubs. People just assume you're wearing scrubs, that you're like,
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I mean, you know what? The commission is such a work.
Yeah.
It's like what we do is entertainment. They should tax the local playhouse.
God.
It's such a work.
Okay, all right. So here's a bitch that I've had for years about this. All right. So hear me out on this one. We are drug tested like Olympic athletes. You can't even take a Sudafed or you'll test positive for meth and you'll be suspended. So you can't even take cold medicine. So we're drug tested like athletes. But we're billed as entertainers, yet we can't get SAG, and we're called subcontractors or independent contractors. Yep. So we can't make our own schedule, because if you don't show up, you're fired. If you don't pass the athletic drug test, and this is allegedly not an athletic sport, you're fired because there's no team bus, and you have to pay your own expenses for the most part, yeah? The hotel and the rental car, that's on you. You have to pay your own insurance. You have to take care of your own medical bills. There's no team doctor, nothing like that, like with other professional sports. And there's no off season. So you have to go year round without even taking a cold tablet, because you're on Olympic standards, even though the Olympic season is this long and ours was that long. But it's entertainment. And you can't get anything that the Actors Guild or the SAG offers. This is the worst of every possible option.
Absolutely.
It is the worst. And then the fans have access to all your personal information and your real name online. They can find you.
Yep. And you can't go now, apparently, and like use Cameo and make money for yourself. So they want to own your social media. It's so, literally.
They want to own your social media, your personal stuff.
Yeah. And at the same time, you'll have certain executives. And honestly, like, call this what it is. We're talking about WWE. From what I gather, AEW is not like that.
started doing it too. TNA started doing it too. Remember that? Even if they had you working, if you weren't working, you weren't making money. But if you worked at independent, they wanted a percentage of it.
No, see, they never did that with me.
Oh yeah, they started doing that for a little while.
Okay, yeah, no, when I was there, it wasn't like that. No.
I have a leather pillow behind me, so hopefully it doesn't make fart noises. But if it does, it's not me.
No.
So
So great. You You just gave me a green light, so thanks.
I know.
Blame April.
This is the third thing I'm taping today. My back's kind of feeling it, so forgive me for the leather there. Okay, so go on.
But no, it is like where they just want to own everything, and it takes away a lot of the rights to where they don't give the talent anything, in terms of other than a paycheck. And it's so funny because like certain people, oh, we want to help you build your brand. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. No, but and that's the thing. Like, let's go back to honesty. Call it for what it is. You want us to help you build your brand,
your brand,
which is fine.
Yes.
You know what? Yeah. You know what you sign up for, right? And I said this: WWE is not this evil corporate. No, it is what it is. You know what you're signing, and then you just go from there, right? Like, yeah, that's all. That really is all that it is. And just, you know what, it's comments, and I don't like the bitter WWE, oh, they shouldn't do this. You shouldn't have signed up for it, you know. But no, it is the worst possible situation. And all it's done, I mean, Vince does not care about people's health. He doesn't. You know, especially when it comes to taking performance enhancers. Again, you know, common sense.
Vince
but like,
doesn't
it was
take
done
performance enhancers. He doesn't look like that at all.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was done. No, but and look, he also, I've heard he works very, very hard at it, and that's great. But like when the Eddie Guerrero, the Chris Benoit thing happened, they needed to appease shareholders, so they then went to the extreme and implemented these things. Now, of course, there's always exceptions to rules. I mean, look at the top. I mean, there's ways around the wellness, and I know this for a fact because I was there. To where a lot of people, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's ways around the wellness policy where you can get a therapeutic use exemption, and you know, they control. You have to go to their doc. So in essence, they control who gets the therapeutic use exemption and who does not. Yet they want you to have your own private health insurance. So you can't even go to your doctor and say, your doctor says, hey, you need to be like this. You have to go through their doctor to get it, and their doctor essentially does whatever they want. I mean, the even like the people who test, like if you look at the doctor who's like involved in that, like there's some shady stuff going on, to where, yeah, it is not conducive to our health, to the point of, I mean, and even this, like, it's creating more alcoholics than anything else, because the only thing you can do is drink alcohol.
Because that's legal.
And yeah, it really is not conducive to a healthy roster, and everyone's miserable there. I mean, I talk to people that are still there and this and that, and again, not mentioning any names, but I haven't heard from one person who's there currently or was there currently, that was like, you know what, that's pretty cool working there. They all are miserable, and I feel bad for them. I mean, like, what kind of a working environment do you want? And I think that there's obviously like the Emperor's New Clothes thing, to where, you know, if you're a member of the office, and you know, of course, talent's not going to complain, because that's not what you do. I mean, I heard some talent complain. They actually cry and they get titles. Maybe I should have done that. But it's to the point of, they want to think, oh, everything's great. Well, and maybe they know it, or maybe they are so disconnected that, like, on the real, because I have nothing invested in that company one way or another, right? Like, I don't care. They've given me a name, they've given me a lot, and I am very, very grateful to them.
You don't feel that you worked for that?
No, I did. I absolutely did.
You don't feel like you earned it?
No, they gave me the platform though, right? Like, you can, Da Vinci can have all the talent in the world, and yes, I'm comparing myself to Da Vinci. He can have all the talent in the world, but if he doesn't have a canvas to paint on, you know what I mean?
Why can't he paint on a wall?
Or if he doesn't have a surface to paint on, you know, if he doesn't have a surface to paint on,
wait, hold on.
You know, a way to display his talent. And WWE gave me that.
What's the guy, the graffiti artist that's really famous that's never painted on a canvas?
Blanking
on the guy's name. Everybody's seen his work though. Okay, sorry. I meant to throw that in there. Banksy. Sorry. Banksy. Okay. Never painted on a canvas. Just saying.
Thank you, Colin. Colin with the save.
Yep.
But
anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just sometimes I think we give them more credit than they deserve. That's all. And I feel like when they went, when they went public, that was a huge problem for us as independent contractors. And here's why. Now you have shareholders who expect a certain thing, and there's money. There's a bottom line to answer for, right?
Mhm.
So in a business that is literally like a circus, you have all these unique individuals. Now you're worried about the bottom line. All of a sudden they started making everybody kind of cookie cutter. They started looking for professional athletes instead of cultivating characters and unique wrestlers. I mean, if Mick Foley came along after they went public, he would never, ever have been given a chance. I'm pretty sure. So you have all these chances they used to take because they could, because they weren't accountable to anybody, because they could say, you know what, screw it. Let's try it. Let's let this person develop their character. Now it's like, shareholders want this, the shareholders want that. We got to be careful. We got there, we got there. And this is a circus business. You can't be careful. You're encouraging individuality in something that's weird. It's the redheaded stepchild of entertainment, literally. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't have normalcy and expect to have that kind of fun and awesomeness that it used to be. And that's when it died. The minute they went public is when the fun meter went. Yeah. And if you look back, that's exactly what happened. That's when the ratings went. And that's when it just, and what happened back in the day, I'll shut up in a second.
No, please.
Hold that thought.
It's your
show.
What
happened back in the day, no, it's our show. What happened back in the day is you had guys whose names were worth a lot, Macho Man. People, you had these guys, Dusty Rhodes, people would come from far to go see them. And if they left a promotion, people would follow them to another promotion. So Vince took that away. He took that name value away from all the wrestlers. And he took that brand, that Dusty Rhodes and that Macho Man, and he just put that all into WWE so that anyone in WWE has no name brand value anymore at all. It's all under the umbrella of WWE. So if somebody leaves, it's just another horse pulling the wagon. It's like, fuck it. Yes. Somebody breaks their leg, fuck it. We got another one in the back. Fuck it. It's just, people are here to see WWE. They're not here to see this one, that one, this one, that one. I mean, 100%. You might have a breakout here and there, but they're never going to be
they cool you off.
Huh?
Yeah. They cool, trust me, the second there is a level where the second you reach that level,
they pull you down.
Will pull you back. I mean, they kept me off television. Like I couldn't even get a dark match because, and this is the reality. I'm not trying to sound like a jackass or trying to like over inflate something because this is what happened. I mean,
no, but this is we're explaining the politics and the business to people that don't know.
When
I would see it, they're not a part of it.
When I would do a dark match, I would do a dark match at TV, and I was on the road full time, work every single house show. I would do a dark match, and then the fans would chant my name throughout the night, so they'd be chanting my name on TV. So then for about 6 or 9 months or something like that, I would show up to TV and do nothing. I couldn't even get a dark match. And it was just like, really, like, this is what you think of, like, this is, and where I had never failed a drug test. I'd never talked bad about the company. Every time I did media to promote TV, ratings went up. More people bought tickets to that event.
And you were a philosophy student. That made no sense.
Yeah, like I would follow the numbers on that. And look, sometimes they just don't want people to succeed past a certain point. And it is what it is, right? And I said this, when you play in someone else's sandbox, you have to play by their rules. Right. And to where you said people give them a lot of credit or too much credit, April, I mean, we may differ on that because, well, and yes, some people do, but I am just saying, like, they gave me a worldwide platform to display what I can do, right? So I do owe that to them. Now, every time I had to fly overseas and coach, at 6'4", 250, and then had to go land and wrestle, and then, yet they expect us to adhere to the exact same guidelines, if not stricter than the NFL. When the NFL, they all have their own private plane, they take care. I mean, with all your money, you can't charter a plane for us over there just so we can be comfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what I had the issue with. And like they
or a fucking bus to go from the city to the next city.
Yeah,
like, really?
Like they treat talent like cattle. And again, this is going overseas. Domestically, look, I was fine with, like, because again, it was like, yeah, me, Santino, Brodus, all right, put us in a car. We'll find our own way. We'll have our own schedule. And it's kind of nice. Like I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the time in the car with people I wanted to be around, you know. That was cool. That was a good part. But again, like you go overseas, it's like the way they treat it. It's like, come on, you know, and it's so ridiculous to where like I just got a royalty check, and I made my accountant, because my accountant does a lot of the wrestling stuff like that. And again, we laugh. We're like, really? Like, oh, hey, that's what it is. You know, it is. They do not treat their talent like other athletes. Now, because the WWE is the big promotion, right? There's no other industry standard, right? Although I think Tony Khan is really starting to change that, to where just like, look at how he took care of Brody Lee's family.
Yeah.
And there are some horror stories I heard. I'm not gonna, because I don't like to discuss behind the scenes stuff, especially if I'm not there, but I have some pretty reliable information, like firsthand, on how some of the Brody stuff was dealt with in WWE. By the boss, and I'm absolutely disgusted, and that's all I'm going to say. But look at how Tony Khan's taking care of Brody's family. Like that's how it should be, you know. Like and Ryback, you know, had a point to where, oh well, if to fly first class, you need to be the champion. Well, you make the decisions of who the champion is. Why is Eric Rowan, who is 6'8" and 350 pounds, flying in coach, cramped up there? You know, like, why do you do this? Like, why do you treat your talent like that? And you just need to call it for what it is, right? They can make the rules because they're like the only game, or they were the only game in town. But in terms of, if you want to put us on par with the NFL, and if you want to compare us to NFL athletes, then treat us like NFL athletes. It's that simple. It is absolutely that simple. But they have to appease shareholders. That's why, hey, we have $500 million in surplus. We're going to be fine. Oh, we're going to fire a bunch of people with families at the beginning of a pandemic. But we're the WWE family. Like, no, you're not.
To pay off my state, Florida, so that they could be considered a essential business. And keep this state open 3 weeks longer than it should have been. Thus, literally, I swear to God, so many people died during that time. So they could run WrestleMania, and then the day after, cut all those people who took a huge risk to do all that. Thanks so much, you're fired. Meanwhile, like, we had entire nursing homes have to empty out because 6 and 8 people in them were dead and dying. And they had to relocate people that are 98 years old because the thing was spreading everywhere, because like one person brought it in, because all the borders were still open. They were allowing all the spring breakers down here because WWE was adamant about paying off.
He paid what, $2 million to the governor? Was it $2 million or something like that?
It was something ridiculous.
Yeah,
which is why they had to fire everybody.
What it is. And again, I've said, like, I'm not bitter. No, like I've said a lot of good points about WWE, and they gave me a platform, but like this is what it is.
It was morally reprehensible. Yeah. And I'll say it. I know you can't, but I'll say it. I don't know how Vince McMahon can sleep at night knowing what he did this year to keep WrestleMania going at the cost of people's fucking lives and their families' lives in this state, the state of Florida. I don't know. And notice how the other wrestling promotions in this state were not essential businesses.
And you know what? Some people are just, you know, it's like, well, what gods do you pray to? Some people, it's the god of money, and it's greed. And it's, you know, again, I'm not going to do a psych profile on anyone, but, you know, Vince has shown that he will do what's good for business, what's good for profit. But again, at what cost? When Owen died, the show went on. I mean, that.
I know. One of my friends was one of the people who was laid off right after WrestleMania. And this guy, like, I remember doing the indies with him. He came from another country. He was up and down the roads. He put in his time. Eric Young. So he put in his time. And how do you fire somebody like that? Like, seriously. And then first off, how do you tell people that they can't have a side gig anymore? And now they don't know if they're going to get axed out of the blue. and then you leave them with nothing, nothing. You take all their possibilities away, or tell them you own them. What was it? Somebody was telling me, this one girl, which I'll leave her unnamed, had such a popular, I want to say it was a Twitch channel that people paid to watch her play video games or something. And they offered her like some bullshit money to close it up so that they could run it for, not close it up, so that they could run it for her, and offered her like 10%. When she had like something like 2 million people.
Yeah.
And she turned it down and left.
Yeah. And good for her.
I could have some of those minor details wrong, but what she should have done is offered to sell it to him for $100,000 and then 50-50 the profits with them.
Yeah.
And then she could do both.
Yeah.
Maybe she did offer that. We don't know.
They're just not like that. You only go by what you see. And look, Vince is a very successful businessman. He's a very successful businessman. He's done very well. But now I think, especially in the wake of the pandemic and everything like that, I think you're just obviously kind of seeing where he stands on things. And I think maybe now people are, with the younger generation being a little more conscious, a little more aware of other people and other people's feelings and everything, to where, extremes on any end, including profit, can be toxic. And in this case, especially like what happened with WrestleMania, when clearly you pay the governor off, and again, it's legal, and I guess it's legal. I don't know. I mean, because everyone knew about it, and he's not in jail. But morally, it is absolutely reprehensible. And there was no thought into doing something so you can run your wrestling show for a state, again, with nursing homes and people's families and everything. That shows,
in my opinion, my state was overrun at that point. Yeah,
and it shows no concern for humanity, and including when you say, again, the 500 or $500 million, excuse me, in surplus, we have a reserve, and then you fire all these people, and then you claim, oh, we're a family company. It's like, shut up. No, you're not. Like, no, you're not. Just call it for what it is. We are a business. We do give some to charity, and we give some back to charity.
They give it to charity probably for a tax write-off. It's not because of the goodness of our hearts.
Where, you know what? I'm not even going to go there, April. Like, who knows? But again, I'm sure they are getting the tax write-off. And then they sure as hell know how to make a big check and present it on television, which maybe that's
exactly.
Maybe that's to get other people to support it. Again, I think we said this a couple weeks ago. Like, maybe Vince does go around at night handing money to poor people or contribute to things in private. Who knows? I'm not even going to judge him like that. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But in terms of, again, like, to think of the overall good and to just think of other people, to where you supposedly like, oh, we're part of a family. Like, just no, because to me, that is complete BS. And that makes someone just two-faced, completely two-faced, or either they are so detached from what family actually is that I in a sense feel bad for them. I truly do feel bad for them, that they really don't kind of have that connection. If that's how they think family should be, if that's like that's because that ain't how I view family. That's not how I do it.
A family that slays together stays together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just not like to me, right? Where I'm writing the TV show for the United Wrestling stuff, right? I'm doing kind of the creative and the booking and stuff like that. I try to be as transparent with everyone as possible, to where like, hey, this is the plan. Let's do this. And I try to be, and this is just my personal philosophy, everything that WWE from a behind the scenes standpoint was not to me.
Yeah.
I try to be that to other people. And that is honest, that is upfront, and transparent. And you know what I mean? To have like no like closed door meetings. No. And when I talk to someone, the door's always open. Everything is out, and I would not say anything in front of them that I would not say. Well, I'm sorry, I wouldn't say anything behind their back that I wouldn't say in front of them.
Yeah.
And it's at least I try my best. And it's just very sad how, like, again, the culture there, to where Vince has said, they promote anti-bullying, yet Vince has outwardly said you need to step on toes and do this to get ahead. When, there was one meeting we were in God, it was might have been Dallas. Might have been Dallas, Texas. I'm not, but I guess it's irrelevant. But I was like at the height of stunt double, right? And I'm waiting for someone to grab this is a meeting at everyone at TV. Like someone needs to grab the brass ring and this and that and this and that. I'm going, excuse me. Like I'm your most popular baby face right now. What the hell do I have to do? And, again, he wouldn't even look at me, give me the time of day. And then that's when I kind of checked out with him. It was just absolute bullshit. It was absolute bullshit. And I think sometimes he does reward, at least from what I've seen, people who will at least try to stab people in the back as opposed to go out there and succeed on merit.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's the way, that's his sandbox. That's the way he chooses to do things. I'm not even going to, I condemn the action, but I don't condemn Vince, right? Because I don't know psychologically where he got to that point, but
48 laws of power.
Yeah, I choose to not conduct my life like that.
Yeah.
That's all. I choose to not conduct, and that's my personal choice. So there you go. That's it. Sorry, that was a long.
Yeah, no, I've had a few things where it's a whole nother episode. Talking about anti-bullying and things they've said to me, things they've done because I wouldn't do things their way. So yeah. I've dealt with that myself. Something
in your personal
you said,
life, not professionally, right?
Yeah, personal life. Yeah,
like to do things their way.
Both picking on my weight when I was rail thin and super lean, telling me I had to lose more weight or become more athletic. Yeah, and the thing with being in an interracial relationship, that they wanted to hire me, but I had to break up with my boyfriend first, who was Jamaican.
Yeah, there you go.
They weren't going to do it. If I was with a Black guy, they weren't going to finance that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If I was willing to, they would send me to OVW. So, and I was like, I don't know, what the hell does my relationship have to do with my ability in the ring? I don't understand it. And they're like, well, they were. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what are you talking about? You're anti-bullying. Give me a break. Like, how do you tell somebody, we like you, we like your look, we think you're talented, you work really hard, we think you'll, be good for us, but we want you to, the first time around, we want you to dump your boyfriend. If you don't, we're not giving you a job. And the second time, we want you to get a lot thinner, or we're not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Like, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something you said earlier about how they cool you off if you get popular. I used to work in Japan a fair bit, and it used to blow me away. The female wrestlers in Japan were like, they have always been freaking amazing, like amazing. So having worked over there and seen that, and then come back to the United States, and the women outside of the United States in general, we're starting to catch up now. But I always said, this was back in early 2000s, mid 2000s, I'm like, why are we not at this level? And I realized, they wouldn't train women like that here, and they wouldn't put women like that on television here, because these women were out there with the same psychology and the same moves and the same suplexes and the same Hurricane Ranas and diving out into the crowd and doing everything. That doesn't seem like a big deal today, but this was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And these women were doing everything that guys were doing, but they were doing it in short shorts and a bra with big ass titties, looking hot doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I suddenly realized, I'm like, if the women can do what the men can do, and they're doing it looking hot, that would blow some ratings up. Like, they're going to be main event.
Mm-hmm.
And it took nearly 20 years before WWE allowed a main event with women. 20 years. And that was hilarious to me when they called it the first ever female main event. It's like, no, I think TNA actually did the thing that you guys wouldn't, and they pushed the cruiserweights and the women. Like, that was one thing, for all the critique that we could have for TNA, the two things they did right were that they picked up the slack where WWE wouldn't touch, and that was cruiserweights and women. So,
yeah. Yeah. So
being a female and being forced out of my own country to find competitive talent, and being told that I'm hireable and they want to bring me on, but having personal life contingencies
mhm.
and caveats, seeing all the stuff that I've seen, watching my friends get axed for being nothing but loyal, seeing how miserable everybody is,
Mhm.
I have personal feelings about all of this.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel very strongly about the
Yeah, and
treatment of other human beings.
yeah, and
Not
it's funny
even
because
myself so much, but other people. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I was gonna say no, but you're right, and it's funny because like with these issues, you know, you can say like, oh, well, they just could never get it done in the ring, and you know, oh, they were fired because they weren't good enough in the ring. Bullshit. Like, look at your body of work.
No.
Like, look at your body of work. Again, I stand by mine. I mean, I've done entertaining stuff, but I've also had the street fights on Raw, on SmackDown, on pay-per-views. I've had, you know, 3 segment matches for the world title. I've had all this crazy stuff, right? So like, no, like to me, that's simply just not like, you can't say with me that I have never, like, I could never hold up my end of the bargain via in the ring, on the microphone, or anywhere else. And the same thing with you, April. Like,
Yeah.
you can't, you just can't say that. But they will use
if
that.
if that were true, they wouldn't pay to fly me over and be one of the only Western females in Japan that they kept bringing back. I wouldn't have headlined Core Q in Fall. Like, if I wouldn't have worked the EWA pay-per-views, you know, I mean, these are highly rated television shows in other countries. If it were true what people said, I wouldn't be in demand in other places.
Yeah, exactly. So it again, it is what it is, but then that is the world we live in. And it's not like the WWE is by itself this evil. No, it's just that is the nature of corporate America, right? There is a bigger picture here. You know, we're talking about the world of wrestling because that's something that we're very, you know, we've spent a lot of our life in. But there's, and again, other corporations, it's the corporate structure that has happened a lot, and that continues to kind of happen and be implemented. And, you know, you say one thing, you do another thing. It's all because of money. And to me, again, I just wish that we could be a little more honest and a little bit more transparent. And unfortunately, that doesn't exist. And you know what? I'm going to say that there have been some very good writers there that I've dealt with in WWE. Mike Notarelli, Tony Gannon, Matt McCarthy. Like they have been stand-up people. And you know, I just think that they, in an environment that is so negative and so like it changes from day to day, they were truly bright spots in my time there. And I just wanted to say that publicly. That's all. So sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good. Give credit where it's due always. You know, a lot of people are quick to complain.
And the agents are all
We're not always. Yeah, the agents.
Well, I mean, of course, I don't think they're, but like Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Finley.
Dean Malenko. Yeah.
Like they're just, I tell you what, it was such a pleasure. Mike Rotundo, you cannot forget Captain Mike at all. You know, such a pleasure to be able to go and to work with them every day, especially on the house shows. To work, I don't have enough good things to say about all them. And you know what, I'm throwing Jamie Noble in there too. Jamie was always wasn't as close with Jamie. But then like when I got let go, he was one of the first people to reach out to me. And I was like surprised that I wasn't surprised he reached out.
Jamie's an introvert. He's real quiet.
But like I was surprised at what he said.
Yeah,
I was surprised at it like genuinely when I got that text from Jamie, I was genuinely touched. I was like, oh wow, dude, thanks. But no, like to be able to work with those agents that I just named, it was, I tell you what, it made going to work so much fun and so good. And I became better in the ring because I was around those guys. So just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'd like, you know, like I said, give it credit where it's due is nice. So I'm sure I'm not speaking for myself when I say it'd be nice to see you back on television to some capacity. So it'd be nice to see you back on NWA, which I understand is starting up again. And by the time this airs, it will have already started again.
Yeah, so we'll see where I'm
exciting. We're slowly opening up the world again. So that's pretty neat. Let's see. I think we were about out of time, and we've already done our comments this week. But I just want to say before, let's see, we go home.
Mhm.
We should I guess thank everybody on our Patreon page. And if I think I mentioned this, if you're listening on Podbean, you can actually watch us
Mhm.
on patreon.com, the A show. Sorry, I'm not completely caffeinated yet today, so forgive me a little bit. And you can support us and we would be grateful for it so that we can keep doing this. Aron.
Absolutely. Again, everything April said, we truly appreciate y'all just taking the time to listen. Have us talk shop here. And you know what? I say it every week. If you like the show, tell a friend. If you don't, tell an enemy. But please share. Let people know that we're out here. Let's grow this thing.
Yeah. And thank you. And your homework assignments this week is to give us a little feedback, give us comments, give us some ideas of what you might like for us to discuss and kick around. And we look forward to reading those next week. So thank you very much.